Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sports Talk in the Burgh. My name is Jaden Barker, and we have a great show for you today. I'm joined by Jordan Morak, Zach Jones, and Nate Kingston. Let's get right into things. With Bill Belichick and the Patriots going their separate ways after having a record of 266 and 121 in the regular season and having a total of 6 Super Bowls, Jordan, should Bill Belichick have a job going into next season?
Of course he should have a damn job going to next season. It's Bill freaking Belichick. He is the greatest coach of all time and the second most accomplished player in NFL history next to Tom Brady. There's not 32 guys in the league that's better than him. Of course he should have a job.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he still has more Super Bowl rings than literally anyone alive. People act like last year's Patriots team was bad, and like they were. The offense was bad, but they didn't have any talent on the team, not even on their defense. But their defense was first in rush yards attempted and fifth in yards per offensive play. And what? Matthew Judon was on their team?
Well, the thing is that all their stars, Matthew Judon, a couple players on defense, their rookie Gonzalez, he was out for the year after a game-ending, season-ending injury. So that defense really didn't have a lot of pieces. But
they still performed.
Yes, they still performed. I love Bill Belichick. I'd love to see him sign as a new head coach or an assistant or something like that.
Yeah, and all that was with an offense that was tied for third worst in first downs on the season. I mean, that defense performed way above expectation.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know how anyone could look past Belichick.
Yeah, and there's not much you can do with Mac Jones as your quarterback. It's not a lot that he could have done.
Exactly.
Staying in the NFL world with the Chiefs defeating the Ravens and the 49ers defeating the Lions, Zach, what can the runner-ups do to make it further next season?
Have some better luck, I guess. I don't know. The Niners
luckiest team in the league right now.
Yeah.
That catch by Ayuk bouncing off the cornerback for the Lions, dude.
Yeah, just about every single bounce went their way for the Niners, and then the Ravens, they just shot themselves in the foot
Lamar
too much.
cracked under pressure. Dude was more antsy than ever. It was his first second AFC championship game?
Something like that.
And he was more antsy than anyone. He had a couple picks, was horrible in the first half. I think he was like 5 for 8. It was absolutely god-awful by them, but Ravens do Ravens things.
Yeah, and he had that very bad pick that it was going to triple coverage.
Yeah, the likely throw.
Terrible. The Zay Flowers fumble was bad. The taunting call, that's stupid. But the teams this year did not do a lot of bad things, except for like the Dan Campbell call, obviously. But you have to do what you have to do to try to win football games.
Exactly.
I'm not too mad at that, but I don't feel like these teams did a lot wrong. I just feel like the other teams are just better than them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it just comes down to the thing every playoffs. Comes down to what team makes less mistakes, what team is more efficient. Like, I mean, when you fail one fourth down call and then you try to go for another one and it's absolutely blocked up and absolutely taken care of coverage-wise by the defense, I feel like you got to go for that field goal there. But, you know.
Something I think the Ravens can improve is that next year Lamar has to do better against the blitz.
Yeah.
I mean, he just had no answers for Spagnuolo's D. They rushed him every time, and he looked like a deer in headlights every single time. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad.
It was really bad.
With the Penguins continuing to backslide and having a record of 22-17 with their win in overtime versus the Montreal Canadiens, having a final score of 3-2, the Pens are on a break until Tuesday, February 6th against the Winnipeg Jets, where they look to start a win streak. Nate, is it over for the Pittsburgh Penguins?
As a Pittsburgh fan, I want to say it's not over. It's not Jover. But I think it might be. And if they do end up having a huge run to try to make it into the playoffs here in the NHL, I think they're just going to miss it. And it's going to be really heartbreaking because, I mean, they're 5th in the Metropolitan Division in the Eastern Conference. But yeah, as Jaden said, they're 22-17 right now, so we'll have to see what they do.
Yeah.
They entered the year with the oldest roster in hockey. I really think that they're not going to go far. I think that it's time to blow it up, rebuild, get rid of the old guys, and try something different. Yeah,
I think they should have blown it up a while ago. I mean, I feel like we've had this question on Sports Talk multiple times a year. Like,
exactly.
Should they blow it up? And every time everyone's like, yeah, and then they just don't.
Yeah.
Right now you said they're 5th in the Metro. They have the 2nd worst power play percentage in the league. They have a god-awful unit. And yeah, it's just they haven't been able to keep up with their pretty good defense. It's just not working for them.
Yeah, like that 2019 team is not there. Those guys are not their 2019 form, unfortunately.
No.
Going in the realm of basketball, arguably Caitlin Clark is the best women's college player currently and is one of the best female prospects in women's basketball in a very long time. Jordan, do you think Caitlin Clark will end up transforming women's basketball?
No. She's great. I think she'll do great things for women's basketball, but I do not think that one woman is enough to transform a whole sport. I think there is a lot that needs to be done to make women's basketball at the level it should be, and Caitlin Clark alone will not be able to. No.
Okay. I mean, I know she's just one person, but bro, she already has proven to transform the women's basketball. She's a generational talent, and you can't deny that. She's a generational talent, and you know, I believe she supercharged women's basketball in a whole, man. Especially with that championship game against Iowa and LSU, that really made a lot of eyes on women's basketball.
But we have to be realistic here.
And I'm not.
Much we want it to happen, she's not going to end up being on a level of a Michael Jordan of influence, on a level of a Magic Johnson of influence, on a level of Larry Bird of influence.
She already is.
She's on the level of Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan.
She's not as good as Larry Bird. No. But she has already brought more. She's already brought more eyes to the sport than have ever been there. And she's a bigger name. Everyone.
Bro, that championship game against Iowa LSU had more eyes on any game in the past 15, maybe 20 years.
Yeah, and guess who played outside of those years? Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson.
Your grandmother could tell me who Caitlin Clark was. She would not be able to tell me who a single other WNBA star is.
My grandmother's dead.
When three-point contest record breaker across the NBA and WNBA, Sabrina Ionescu, and the greatest shooter of all time, Stephen Curry, face off in a three-point contest. Nate, who do you think will take the victory?
So, you know, I was really high on Caitlin Clark, but I got to go with Steph on this one. Yeah. I mean, he's been dominant in the NBA for so many years. He's, I think, the best three-point shooter in the league, and maybe one of the best three-point shooters in the league in history. But you know, Sabrina, she's great. She's great from three. I'm going to take Steph in this one as to take that win.
It's a great choice. We're talking about the greatest shooter of all time, not just the greatest NBA shooter, not just the greatest shooter in the modern era, not just the greatest shooter in the Warriors, the greatest shooter to ever step foot on this planet, Stephen Curry. Come on.
Listen, I hear what you're saying, and you're right. He's the best shooter in NBA.
You're picking Sabrina.
But open shot, fate of the universe on the line. The Martian's got the death beam pointed right at Earth. Give me Anisku. I need her. She's got the shot. And let me tell you one thing. Curry's 35 years old. He's turning 36
in a month. It doesn't matter for shooters.
He's washed, bro.
He's not washed.
Give me Sabrina.
Ray Allen was able to still shoot the way he always shoot, even better when he was older. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter for
standing
shooters.
In the corner.
No. Okay. Now, the question that needs to be answered, are they going to use a WNBA-sized ball or an NBA-sized ball?
Well, I think they have to use their respective balls in that sense.
I agree with Kingston there. I don't see any reason why you should make one or the other, use the other ball.
Yeah, and it won't matter because Stephen Curry will win.
Yeah, exactly.
Sabrina.
Now, from one high-scoring event to another, with the recent scoring surge in the NBA by players such as Joel Embiid and Luka Doncic and Devin Booker. Zach, do you think this is good for the league?
Where are we? Yeah, I mean, I do. I think everyone loves offense. People like to say that defense is, a past art, but it's just not. We've just never seen offensive talent like these guys. I mean, I got it in here somewhere, but Luka Doncic is 6'7", 230 pounds. Embiid is 7 foot, 280. Cat's 7 foot, 248. D-Book 6'6", 206. We've just never seen guys like this size with bags this big.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, speaking of Luka, I'm really high on Luka. Bro put up, 70 points the other day?
73, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Embiid 70. Everyone on that list
exactly.
Like
Everyone on this list is just playing out of their minds. And I mean, now that maybe, is this a new era of the NBA? Is this a new something with all the players in it? I think it's a great time in the NBA.
Yeah, I don't see how anyone except for old heads that grew up with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson can argue that this is bad for the league. This is so entertaining. Exactly. Seeing the best players in the world score all these points. I don't see why you could say it's bad. It's entertaining. Offense is more entertaining than just a defensive slugfest, and I think everyone that is in their sane mind can agree with that.
Exactly, and defense is just not. It's just not a thing of the past. The two of the top teams in the league right now, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the New York Knicks, both have been buzzsaws on defense. Minnesota has been #1 this entire season, and then ever since the OG Anunoby trade, the Knicks have been, I think, #1 since that trade. It's just ridiculous. I don't like people saying that defense is just gone and people only play offense.
It just depends on what
people are
team
sharing.
schemes.
People were sharing clips from Luka's game, and they don't know what a Gortat screen is. You just don't know ball, bro. Like, shut up.
No ball.
Now, coming up next, we have teams with new coaches. Moving forward, do you see long-term success, or are we worried that they are not quite there yet? Coming up right after this.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Today, we face an unprecedented crisis. Tens of millions of refugees have been forced from their homes. But you can make a difference. Turn disruption and despair to hope and opportunity. Even small amounts make a big difference. Provide shelter, support, or jobs in your community. The more we understand, the greater sense of belonging we create. Act now. Visit supportcrisisrelief.org.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. We have coaches with new teams as well as players and coaches' futures on the line in our brand new segment, Do You Trust? We'll be starting with the Minnesota Timberwolves, the #1 seed in the Western Conference of the NBA. The defense has been good, but the offense has been struggled from time to time, and the team hasn't had a playoff series since 2004. Zach, do you trust the Timberwolves moving forward?
You know, as much as it pains me to say, no, I don't think I do.
The Timberwolves fan is hating on the team.
I'm glad you're not being a homer.
With the amount of, I'm from Lower Borough, by the way, with the amount of fourth quarter collapses that this team has had, I just don't know how anyone can, like we said, trust them in the playoffs. I mean, they're not a first round exit, but I don't know if they are able to pass the second round with they're just collapsing, and it's not because of talent. Obviously, it's just frustrating.
I do think it's because of talent. Because when we're
real, bro.
When we're talking about do you trust, I'm talking about. Do you trust long term? Do you trust in the games that it matters, the NBA Finals? And I'm saying no. I do not think they have a S-tier talent to be able to bring that.
They got Anthony Edwards.
Listen, I love Anthony Edwards. Okay,
clearly not.
He is not that guy yet. He's not in the league on the echelon of LeBron James, of Kevin Durant, of Steph Curry. He's not there yet. I think he's
in his brief time in the playoffs, he has already proved that he is there. He was the #1 option on the Olympics team over the summer.
They're not going to be able to be a team.
He is that guy.
They're not going to be able to beat a team like Denver. Come on.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
No, they're
I don't
not.
trust them either. I don't trust them either. But they're 32-14 right now, which is what, they're second in the Western Conference right now. I mean,
if they win tonight, they're first.
Oh, exactly. If they win tonight, they're first against the Thunder, I believe.
Yep.
But I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't see them making it to the finals.
I think they need to make a move. I would love a veteran presence on the bench, specifically a ball handler, maybe a point guard. I think at this moment, they are probably a second-round exit without any changes.
Exactly, no championship.
But they got a finals in them. They really do. This team is special.
Clearly not.
Continuing in the realm of basketball, Joel Embiid is one of the best players in the NBA. He won MVP last season, but has never made it past the conference semifinals. Zach, do you trust Joel moving forward?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
I do
my
trust
God.
the MVP. I feel like it shouldn't be that crazy of a thing to say.
I know it's not, because I also agree with Zach here. I trust Joel Embiid.
Now, what did Jaden just say? She said that he's never made it past the semifinals, and we're saying we trust him.
Oh my God.
Okay. He's not proved that he can be that guy. He is the Lamar Jackson of the NBA. Come on, what are we talking about
Do
here?
you know who his coach was?
I don't care
Doc
who his coach
Rivers!
was. I don't care.
Doc Rivers,
And who
bro.
was his coach before Doc Rivers? He's not been able to do it at all. He's not been able to make it. He's not that guy. He's not the best center in the league. He's great in the regular season, but in the playoffs, when it counts the most, he cannot get the job done. He's
That's
not him.
simply not true. The last 2 seasons, he's been bad in the playoffs because of injury. Before that, he still put up 30 points a game
But healthy
in the
Joel
playoffs.
Embiid is absolutely elite. One of the
Exactly.
best
Of course
shooters
he
in the
is.
league.
Yeah,
But he's not
probably
been able to get his team past the semifinals, guys. What are we not understanding?
Oh
Okay,
my
it
God.
is a team game, man. It's
Exactly.
Not just a solo
Thank
game.
you.
Okay,
Thank
team
you.
game. LeBron James, 2018, best season of all time, single-handedly took his team to the finals. Stop his team game.
I'm sorry, Joel Embiid is not LeBron James. No one else is.
He should be.
No one else
should be.
is.
Too bad.
But
Joel is still
no,
one of the
Joel
best
Embiid
players.
is probably the best scorer in the league. And I hate how much he gets to the line. I would love to hate on him, but I just don't think this team is too good to lose in early
They're
on.
going to lose in the semifinals this year again.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
bro.
After having a successful run in the NFL, taking his team to the Super Bowl, then going back to his alma mater and winning Michigan a national championship, Jim Harbaugh is finally returning back to the NFL to try and win a Super Bowl. Jordan, do you trust Jim Harbaugh moving forward?
Absolutely, I trust Jim Harbaugh. I love Jim Harbaugh. He was one of the best coaches in the league when he was in the NFL, and he only got fired because of disputes with his owner. He went back to college, won a national championship, and is coming back to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he is going to turn the Chargers around to what they should be, and he's probably going to take them to the conference finals in the next 2 years, I believe.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree with you. I completely trust Jim Harbaugh on his. I know he wanted this job before Brandon Staley got hired, but he ended up taking the job at Michigan, which, I mean, was great. He ended up getting his championship anyway over there. But I think this is great to have him back in the NFL, especially after his short stint, or I guess a medium stint there with the 49ers. But I want to see him take those Chargers to the playoffs. Get Joe Herbo some love, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. I think he's just too good not to do well over there. I'm very excited to see him take over in the rebuild. Before he left the 49ers, he actually had, out of all current NFL coaches, he has the highest winning percentage, which is crazy.
Oh, amazing.
And yeah, I'm very excited. He's bringing back his defensive coordinator for Michigan, who was excellent last year. And I mean, going from J.J. McCarthy to Justin Herbert is like going from a pop gun to a bazooka. So he's got to be stoked.
After getting fired by the Philadelphia 76ers and constantly not being able to take his team to the promised land, will Doc Rivers finally be able to win another championship, but this time with the Milwaukee Bucks? Zach, do you trust Doc Rivers?
Absolutely not. I feel like I've already laid out my opinion on him. But yeah, he's only ever shown the ability to win with a team that's far and away the best. And this Sixers team, I think they're a good squad. Or no, sorry, Bucks squad. Oh, yeah, I think they're good, but they are no 2008 Celtics.
Even when he had the 2008 Celtics, he was only able to get one ring out of them with that all-star team. He's shown year and year again, with the Clippers team, the big three with CP3 and Blake Griffin, and also
playoffs.
the big three with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, he's shown that he's not been able to get it done with talent. He's not going to be able to get it done in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, as Zach has said before, he's ruined players and ruined teams. I mean, you got Blake Griffin, Joel Embiid, for instance. But I think he's just there to try to chase a ring. Let's be honest here. He came in to chase a ring. He came in to replace first-year head coach after last year, Adrian Griffin, which, that went so well.
Fired mid-season.
I don't think he should have been hired anyway. I think they should have kept Coach Bud, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't see much success with Doc Rivers at all. He's had 3-1 leads blown, which is the most in NBA history. He's 6-10 in Game 7s, which is the most losses in NBA history. He's just he's always been more of a locker room guy. He's always been more of a locker room guy and never more of like a schemer or a play caller. And yeah, that's just not what these Bucks like. It was perfect for the 2008 Celtics. You got a lot of egos on those teams you got to manage. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not too worried about Giannis Antetokounmpo's ego.
No, not at all.
Moving into the Pittsburgh world of sports, with never having a losing season in his 17 years of coaching, but have not been able to go to the Super Bowl since 2011 and is 8-10 in the postseason, Nate, do you trust Mike Tomlin in his future?
You know what? I'm really undecided. Again, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I love Mike Tomlin. I think he is great. Oh, great, you didn't have any losing seasons, but let's get a playoff win, please, without Ben Roethlisberger at the helm. Let's get a playoff win. I know he has 1 year on his contract. He didn't get re-signed. The first time he didn't get re-signed with a year left on his contract. I want to trust him, but my gut's telling me I can't.
As another Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I say I do trust him simply for the fact that there's really no one else available for us to get.
Bill Belichick?
There's no one else available.
Mike
Now
Vrabel.
that's an idea.
Mike Vrabel.
Listen.
Belichick on
interesting,
alert.
but I do not think I could personally root for a team led by Bill Belichick. It's too much for me. He's put me through too much as a fan. I don't think I could do it, but I do trust Mike Tomlin if he gets a better quarterback, especially if it's his responsibility to hire coordinators. He's going to need to find a good offensive coordinator who can help develop Kenny Pickett more, or just get a new quarterback as a whole, because something needs to change.
Yeah, as a Vikings fan, I do agree with you guys. I do trust Tomlin. I mean, with Belichick out of a job currently, he's definitely the most proven coach in the league right now, and Carroll's out too.
Oh, yeah,
so
plus he's the longest tenured coach.
He is the
right
longest
now.
tenured. And yeah, I mean, people like to poke fun at that 17 seasons, 500 or above, but like, that's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
I mean,
It
it's a record for a reason, and no other team has ever been able to even approach that. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. Let's just get to the playoffs.
With Brock Purdy only being a rookie last year in the NFL and making it to the Super Bowl this year versus the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as having a strong foundation team around him with Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, Jordan, how do you feel about Brock Purdy's future?
I feel that he's good enough to help the 49ers win, because the 49ers are a team of Avengers, okay?
Okay, yeah.
I think he's just Jimmy G 2.0. I don't think he's anything special. I don't think he could do this with really any other team in the league.
So
but
you're saying he's a
fine.
system quarterback?
Of course he's a system
I don't
quarterback.
think he's more than just a
Shout out
okay.
Cam Newton.
I trust. Okay. I'm going to disagree with Cam Newton on that one. I trust Brock Purdy. He has proven that he's more than just a system quarterback. Yes, I know. If you put him in other offenses, I think he has a great OC and a great head coach. I think he does. But this season alone, I think he's proven that he can be more than a system quarterback. He's actually using his running ability more, I'd say, this year. And I know he has a bunch of weapons around him. I think he does, and he definitely has really bad games. But I think with where he was picked and what they got out of him, I think it's a great thing.
Sounds like system QB.
I gotta agree with Jordan here. He's better than Jimmy G. I do think he's better than Jimmy G.
He is so much better than Jimmy G.
I don't know about so much, but his legs open up that other field that just like Jimmy G never had. And against the Lions, they would not have won that game against the Lions without him walking like that. But you know, he's not a Patrick Mahomes. He's not a Lamar Jackson. We know that. We know that. But I trust him enough to win. Yeah, exactly. I trust him enough to win the Super Bowl in that offense. But any other team you put him on, and it's like, oh, that's a bad team. He does not deserve. I don't agree with you. I don't think he's proven himself outside of the system.
Now into the Robert Morris world of sports, with Andy Toll being the coach for 13 seasons and having a record of 216 and 210. Zach, how do you feel about Andy Toll's future with the Colonials?
You know, I came to RMU last year, and I was always sold on Andy Toll being an excellent defensive coach. And that has just not been the case, especially this year. Last year, I think it was all right, but this year, our defense has been a liability. The Colonials have been relying on offense to win their games instead of defense. And, you know, I get he had the switch conferences, and that is whenever a big switch changed. But this is still the worst defensive team the Colonials have ever had. I mean, opponents are shooting at a higher percentage than ever before.
Yes, yeah. I think we do. I don't know if I can trust them. I mean, I'm the oldest person at the table right now, and I've seen some of the good Colonial teams and some of the really bad ones. I think. I really want to see Andy Toll keep going. I really want to see this team go. But the problem is, like as Zach said, the defense isn't there. I mean, they have some good games. They got some good shooters. They got some nice final OT winners, but I just don't see it.
So I can't really trust a coach that almost has a 500 record, and also I cannot trust a coach who almost lost to, I think they were 0-18 Detroit Mercy at that time.
Almost.
Went into double OT with a team that they should have absolutely blown out the water. I can't trust that, no.
Look, the thing that's been biggest heartbreaking, though, is like seeing the guys that transfer out with MG3 and Cheeks have such big roles in the teams they go to. And then, you know, we see our supposedly big transfers do not much. Justice Williams.
Coming up after this, we will be back with the guys' final takes. Stay tuned.
Let's see. Women's basketball.
Found my heart out there in the open. Trees make you feel smaller. Can't help but get lost again. If I need a break, know where I'm going. Where the water's flowing, I'd rather be floating. If it's something I can count on to be free.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. I'm going to send it over to the panel for the guys' final takes.
Watching the NFL playoffs this weekend and listening to the media personalities has had me disillusioned as an avid NBA fan. Talking heads can actually analyze what happens on the field and break down the schemes and action they saw instead of rather just saying player X doesn't have enough dog in him. Holy smokes! NBA media is in a sorry state, and it has been getting worse and worse over the years. Talking heads would rather tear down today's players or give surface-level observations like, oh, he's just too good, they can't handle him, rather than dive into why the game played out like it did. You never hear the big personalities mention anything deeper than zone defense and a basic pick and roll. Meanwhile, color commentators in football provide insight on what kind of defense the QB is seeing and the process behind their decision making. This is completely absent in the NBA space until you start looking on YouTube or Spotify. The league's biggest media personalities create an environment that is not only pretty toxic to the players, but it's also one that is not sustainable for long-term discussion of the sport. We're seeing firsthand what it looks like when a sport prioritizes getting clicks instead of spreading love of the game, and NBA fans are getting stupider because of it.
The Kansas City Chiefs are the new evil empire in the NFL. They are the new New England Patriots. They have had a whole country against them except for Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. But they still prevail nonetheless. And now it is so clear that this year the Chiefs will never go away no matter what, and they are soon to be a dynasty. Even this year, with all their catching woes that they have went through and people doubting that they are still those guys, they prove once again that even against the best team in the league, that they are still the team to beat this year. And so this year has big implications for many people on the Chiefs. And if they are able to go back-to-back and win their third Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes will not only cement his legacy as one of the top 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time, Andy Reid will have a legit argument for top 3 coach of all time, and it will be hard to argue against Travis Kelce being the greatest tight end ever.
On to my letter to Detroit. Dear Detroit Lions fans, look how far you made it. The Lions finally made it to the NFL playoffs and finally won a playoff game in over 92 years. The offense was running the ball and making big passing plays all game. They picked up right where they left off last season after beating Green Bay and spoiling their season. The first playoff win was against their former quarterback Matthew Stafford and the Rams. And then after winning that game, the Lions took down the Baker Mayfield Buccaneers. This was 2 great home playoff games for the Lions, but it was all for none in the end when they went to San Fran and got beat by the 49ers. They started the game well and went into the halftime with a 24-7 lead, but they choked it in the second half and lost 34-31. All I can say is, Detroit Lions fan, it was one heck of a ride. And all I have to say is, go 49ers, let's beat the Chiefs. It's about time that the Chiefs and Patty Mahomes do not win another Super Bowl. Let's do a rematch, and we're not going to have a Jimmy Garoppolo choking in the playoffs.
He deserved everything that happened to them. I wish more.
As a Vikings
I wish
fan,
worse happened to them. They deserved it. They deserved worse. That's all time.
Thank you for joining us on Sports Talk in the Burgh. I'm your host, and we'll see you next time.